The Steve Harvey Morning Show.
Global 99.5 FM reminds our listeners that the views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the host and guests and not necessarily the opinions of the owners of Global Communications Network and the operators of this radio.
Today can be the turning point in your life by making a simple decision.
Fundamental questions of navigation. Where am I? Where am I going? And how do I get there from here?
I invite the leaders of our planet to ask themselves these three questions before they make any crucial decisions.
But if you don't make decisions, you're going to stay right where you are.
We are all map makers.
We are in a time of transition.
If we're going to change, we have to change the direction that we're going.
Our planet needs leaders who know where they want to go.
When we change the direction we're going, then we want to make sure we're going in the right direction.
Leaders who can see the big picture.
Because if we're not, we're going to either go backwards or we're going to stay where we are.
Recognizing the psychological and the spiritual shifts and changes that need to be made, often from the inside to the outside.
To be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm.
Complex journeys require navigation. The path to the truth is one such journey. This is your GPS. Hairstyling services provided by J.D. Edwards Salon and Spa, Palmdale Shopping Plaza, Madera Street. Accessories provided by Chevette Williamson Jewelry. Standout jewelry for standout women.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome once again to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. I am your host, Michelle Malcolm. As always, it's a pleasure to be in your company today. So today it's going to be all about Grand Bahama, the nation's second city. Unless you are living under a rock, I'm sure you would have heard of the big announcement that was made just days ago about the sale of the Grand Lucaya Hotel by this current Davis administration. And we also heard about upgrades that are going to happen at the Grand Bahama Airport. And then Carnival Cruise Lines announcing that they are going to be building a state-of-the-art cruise port arrival there. Boy, this all sounds wonderful for Grand Bahama. And we know Grand Bahama been going through for a little while. And so now with all of these major announcements coming back to back to back, we have to ask the question, is this the beginning of the renaissance, the long overdue renaissance for Grand Bahama? Or is this just more smoke and mirrors? So who better to join me to have this conversation than the one and only critical thinker, C. Allen Johnson, Mr. Grand Bahama himself, who has agreed to help us break this down. Welcome to GPS. What you drinking?
Coffee.
Sounds wonderful. Sounds wonderful. All right. Good news on the horizon for Grand Bahama, it seems, with all of these major announcements. What are your thoughts?
I consider it an engagement party. We haven't been married yet.
Fair enough.
So this is where they're coming in and they're telling us all the wonderful things we're going to have once the relationship has started. And so we're closer. But here's the beauty about what has been done. What has been given to us is hope, even though it just may be nothing more than dope. But the hope is that these things can be close. Now, we must keep in mind that the hotel has been announced to be sold, close to be sold, soon, very soon before. Mm-hmm. We've been hearing about the Carnival cruise port for going on a decade now, already on those. The announcement made for the shipyard is essentially an enhancement or replacement of what was damaged of the hurricane, during the hurricane, though it is now coming back bigger and better. Mm-hmm. We're hoping that also that the trickle-down effect, I don't like the word trickle-down. We're hoping that the experience we have from the bottom up and the middle out will take effect with the marina at Aulokaya, some other projects that's coming soon and very soon. Hotel on the side of the Aulokaya Hotel, the Ocean, the O2 Resort. There's the Weller Group development that is happening at Discovery Bay. It's a lot of things that has been promised, and if you're in the circle in Grand Bahama, there's a lot of discussions that's going on that seems more promising now than it was in the past. But again, it still has to be consummated for us to, like you say, this marriage has to be consummated. Even after we get married, until it's consummated.
You don't want this relationship to end in an annulment, I take.
That's right.
Okay, so let's set the stage for our audience who I don't know where they would have been if they don't know this by now, but when it was announced, everybody got all excited, and we're going to play a clip now from Eyewitness News detailing what the government revealed as it relates to the sale of the Grand Lukaya.
And God has come true for us today. Because we here at Port Lukaya, we were living in hope, knowing that God is able to do anything but fail in our country here. All the people of God must do is just learn to trust God and wait.
I mean, Grand Bahama itself has been suffering for so long. First Dorian and then the pandemic and now. So the signing, well, I don't know if it's sold. So I've been told I need to see the money in the bank.
After years of what Grand Bahama residents call a volley of the opening of the Grand Bahama Resort, many, especially those in the tourism industry, say they still won't be satisfied until the plans are finalized.
Because we've been here before and we got really excited and nothing happened. So I am excited, but I need to see some work over there first.
I am so tired of being broke and can't pay my bills. So that's very, very, very good news. And I hope to see something happening soon.
Just to hear at the sale that there is a buyer and no sale goes through, profit us nothing. Today's about day. We need that hotel open. We need that casino open.
But tourists are singing a different tune.
I think it's interesting to see the advancements, seeing the damage from hurricanes and thinking that another company is coming in to make it greater. It's definitely an incentive to come back.
Acting Prime Minister Chester Cooper announcing today the Electra America Hospitality Group acquired the property at a $100 million price tag with plans to invest in the economy.
Electra has committed to an estimated $300 million in renovations and construction to rebuild the Grand Bahama Resort into an environmentally sustainable luxury resort. $5 million to the Ministry for Grand Bahama's new unit collab partnership for development, for community projects, and funding for Bahamians to create and grow businesses to enhance the tourism product in conjunction in partnership with the Ministry of Tourism and the Tourism Development Corporation.
And as for the 2,000 construction and additional 1,000 permanent jobs created, Cooper says the company has pledged to ensure that Bahamians will be placed first.
At least 80% of the construction jobs are to go to Bahamians. At least 80% of the full-time jobs must be for Bahamians. The construction will be phased, with the hotel remaining open at all times throughout.
The company's CEO, Russ Urban, says they are more than happy to invest in what is being called prime real estate.
But we saw this as a very unique opportunity in a world-class location to create energy and to revive a community that has been so ravaged over recent years.
And for the island still reeling from a series of devastating storms and the crippling impacts of the coronavirus pandemic, Grand Bahama Minister Ginger Moxie says this investment will bode well for its rebound.
The Port Lukaya marketplace that's right next door has not had, the business that it normally has as a result of the closures of many of the properties. So the trickle-down effect is enormous. When it comes to group business, events, this is the place that everyone came to.
So I have to ask you, C. Allen, because when they made the announcement of this sale, of the current administration has been sort of revealing some of the details of the last deal that was left on the table and explaining why they said, not going to happen. We're not going to accept that. And from what we can hear so far, and it sounds like this is a far better deal than the one that was left on the table by the former administration. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree, but the devil is in the
In the
actual
details.
details that they're going to release. And the reason I say that is that I've heard $300 million on the table, but I've heard maybe $1 billion worth of plans. And it's so much can be done. For those of us that is very familiar with the hotel, it'll be interesting to see what $300 million can do. You're talking about three hotels, and so for someone that's familiar with it, the Memories Resort which is a couple hundred rooms, will have to be torn down. That is cast iron pipes, asbestos, mildew. You have the Breakers Hotel, the center, which is about 550 rooms that need total gutting and renovations. And it's important for that to understand is that when you're examining Electro America, the type of hotels they promise, or they in apartment hotels, whatever it is they involve in, it's supposed to be of a higher scale level. They promise an environmentally sustainable type model. So you're looking at almost a total gutting of that hotel, considering that it's been through a number of hurricanes already, and it has, consider years of molds and mildew and liabilities that could be attached within. Then we go to the Lighthouse Point Hotel, which is a kind of age hotel from the 60s. So we could only expect that too will eventually be torn down. Then you have them talk about these 11 restaurants that they're going to be putting there. They're going to be putting 10 bars. And so when you look at the structure of the hotel, mind you, they also said they're going to be putting a couple hundred rooms of additional rooms for convention center. And so if you take your time and go through what they're promising on this space, it's possible by going vertical. But when you start talking about 11 restaurants, 10 separate bars, these convention centers, these hotel rooms, on and on and on, looking at the footprint that they have. Now, when you go for a couple hundred, maybe 1,000, maybe I think it was a few thousand acres, 2,600 acres, could be corrected, for the golf course, they also began to talk about golf course villas. So there's a lot. So you see where you begin to add this up to have a world-class resort, and then you look at the initial budget of $300 million. That's why I say the devil is in the details. What is this $3 million about in the construction phase? Because clearly, if you examine these, the voluminous of the work that's to be done, it goes to expand. I've not had the opportunity to speak to government. I had the opportunity, though, to speak to my member of parliament as well as others in the opposition to see if they had any information they could provide with me. And they have equal to or maybe even less information than I do. So the promise is huge. For me, if they could achieve these things even over a number of years, it acts as a strong catalyst for the revival of the Grand Bahama economy if we can come up with a hospitality strategy that ties into this. You could talk about the 1,000 permanent jobs. Conservatively speaking, when Grand Bahama is at its capacity of previous years, just recent years, we had about 60,000 residents, which about 30,000 of those are people in the workforce. Where conservatively speaking, we could very easily say 20,000 individuals on Grand Bahama is unemployed or underemployed as it stands right now. And so you could see the type of impetus that we need for the restoration of the Grand Bahama economy. This isn't something that happened since Dorian. This is 2 decades of neglect, failure, or underdevelopment. And so one hotel, even as massive as they are promising, is not going to be the singular environment. We're hoping that, consider Grand Bahama is a dry forest waiting to be reignited. We're hoping that this spark would light the economic fire, that people will begin to take interest more so Bahamians. And we're going to talk about this. I see this as an opportunity for Bahamians to be inserted into the economic models that we're talking about. And that's the primary thing we would love to hear come out of the Ministry of Tourism and Investments, as well as from the Minister for Grand Bahama. We want clarity on a policy of inclusion. Now, also, we put some responsibilities for clarity also for the Grand Bahama Port Authority, because they too was there celebrating their supposed involvement in this so-called bringing this into fruition.
Yeah.
So between the government of the Bahamas, which we would love to hear from Ginger Moxie and Chester Cooper, and from Mr. Ian Rowe from the Grand Bahama Port Authority, to explain where is the policy of growth and inclusion for Bahamians. Let me add one more thing. Consider that we have a tourism product, and we already have a criticism coming from the industry that there's very little for tourists to do on the island. So now we need access to building the support infrastructure, such as the Bahamian experience, whether it be tours or restaurants or activities for them to do. And so again, so now we want to hear from the Development Bank. We want to hear from the Mortgage Corporation in respect to bed and breakfasts. We want to hear from the SPDC in respect to starting businesses. And then we also want to hear from the Minister of Finance to see the type of policies and legislation that be put in place for Bahamians to be access capital both locally and globally. Because what happens is, we must remember, we have an impact of $7.5 billion between Abaco and Grand Bahama. And this is infrastructural damage. That $7.5 billion have not been rebuilt. So just when you begin to talk about, yes, this hotel is coming in with 300 million or 500 million, the question is, we need an economic strategy to replace the $7.5 billion that has been ripped out of between Grand Bahama and Abaco. But secondly, we often talk about the GDP and whatever else. We never talk about the infrastructure that generates that GDP. So even if you put it at $4 billion of GDP that's been ripped, like we say, I have a restaurant. The GDP of that restaurant is the profits I make and the salaries I pay the people. So my restaurant is blown away by Dorian. Here's the problem. We'll then say, oh, we lost the GDP equal to my profits and the salaries, but we don't look at the fact that I also lost a restaurant that needs to be rebuilt to begin to generate that GDP again. And so this is an opportunity for MSMEs, for revolutionizing of the Grand Bahama economy, considering the Grand Bahama economy is the linchpin for the recovery of the Bahamian economy.
Now, there are a couple of things that I think are worthy of consideration when we're talking about the future potential impact of all of these developments. And one of them is, you touched on the Grand Bahama Port Authority. I think some would argue that for a very long time, one of the major problems that Grand Bahama had is that it was being run by two governments. You had the government of the Bahamas and you had the Grand Bahama Port Authority, which, didn't always see eye to eye on everything. And it seemed that that the island of Grand Bahama was caught in the middle of these two warring parents. So,
and I can speak to that. Go ahead, but when you finish.
Yeah. So the question is, unless we're not aware of something and that relationship hasn't improved, how does that bode for the future of these developments?
Well, that's the who's at fault of that. It's not the Grand Bahama Port Authority and it's not the government. We are at fault. The Bahamian people on every single island. Just let me say, the problem is that we have been conditioned to believe that what happens on Grand Bahama is for Grand Bahamians, what happened on the Lutras for Lutarians, what happens for Inagua and Andres.
Right.
The problem is that we are all part of the entire country. So everything that happens on Grand Bahama involves all Bahamian. The same thing with the Lutra and Andres and Abaco, whatever. So we need to get over that. We must understand that whatever happens on Grand Bahama is by the permissive will of the government. The Grand Bahama Port Authority governs, for lack of a better word, technically, let me correct that. The Hawkesbury Creek Agreement is a trust agreement. It's a trust agreement between the licensees of the Grand Bahama Port Authority, the government of the Bahamas, representing the citizens, and the Grand Bahama Port Authority. So you have these tripart arrangements. The funny thing is, when that arrangement was made, Bahamians were not the primary holders of the licensees of the Grand Bahama Port Authority. So as it stands today, that meeting, what happens on Grand Bahama or in Freeport, if you want to use it, is the responsibility of the Bahamian people, represented by the government, because we now control 80% of the licenses, and we actually are the government. The government is not a separate entity. The government represents the trustees of that organization, the beneficiaries of that trust, I should say. So whenever you hear the blame game going on between the Grand Bahama Port Authority and the government, it's a charade. It's a charade because neither wants to accept responsibility. We now, as citizens of the Bahamas, and I know I will, as a member of Grand Bahama, will begin to demand for immediate reconciliation of these three forces, to basically come to the table and have a conversation, including bringing some interested individuals otherwise, such as the church, because we often refer to them for our moral compass, the chamber, a new group that is forming that I will be a part of is the Grand Bahama Economic Council, who wants to represent all of Grand Bahama, the citizens, the businesses, and the visitors, as well as the second home residents and whoever else is here. And so we would love to have all of us sit at the table so that we'll have no excuses. No, it's the port fault, it's the government fault, it's the licensee's fault. We also have to begin to get impetus in the licensees to come together so they too can represent themselves when sitting at this table, even though the Grand Bahama Economic Council can act as a representative of them once we know what it is they want. We have an expression, is nothing for you without you. The citizens of the Bahamas and Grand Bahama, and I think by the Bahamas at large, should take the position, nothing for us without us. And so as we begin to build this economy, and you use an example, a study about in the mid-2000s said that we need about 10,000 rooms on Grand Bahama for the tourism product to become economically viable like it was one day in the past. And for people, I know people all over the Bahamas like to say Grand Bahama is not designed for tourism. I'm about to cure you of your ignorance. Grand Bahama is one of the most tourism-centered economy. If you go back to Jack Tar and the Sheraton, there was a dozen major hotels on this island at one time. And if you read the Hawke's Bay Creek Agreement, you can see that that was part of its structure. It was not this so-called industrial area. It was supposed to be development of second homes and hotels and hospitality and tourism and everything else. So that's just people who have picked up something they've said in the past. But coming back center to the conversation of where responsibility lies, the responsibility now for the economic development of the country, of Grand Bahama, lies with us. But we have elected individuals, and we have appointed Ms. Ginger Moxie as the key person in leading this initiative as the Minister for Grand Bahama. And so we must now look to them to avoid the run, duck, and hide type environment we've had in the past, and have them come directly, especially her in working in conjunction with Chester Cooper, and tell us what is the new hospitality strategy for Grand Bahama. How does Bahamians participate? And if the Grand Bahama Port Authority is a hindrance, tell us exactly how. Don't run, duck, and hide. Tell us how. And if the Grand Bahama Port Authority, if you're not getting what you want, we find it that we think that you should come forward, because we're going to hold you for the lack that you have, wherever fault you want to blame. So if we are unaware of what is hindering you doing what you are obligated to do, then we will assume you just chose not to do it. And so I think this is a time, I know I'm going to be on the ground for a form of advocacy for us to lay claim to this economy. And we're going to invite individuals to plan out of New Providence, because if you look at lots, we have maybe 300,000, 400,000 quarter-acre lots or more, a few million developed. If you look at available for Grand Bahama for a fraction, you could buy a lot and a house here on Grand Bahama for which you could only buy a lot for in New Providence. So as Grand Bahama economy develop, we are looking at these so-called hotel and these other development will act as a catalyst to cause individuals to want to leave New Providence. And for those Grand Bahamians who are on other islands to want to come back to Grand Bahama and actually build the new Bahamian economy, not just Grand Bahama economy, the new Bahamian economy that's going to come forward. So there's no blame game in this anymore. We know where the Grand Bahama Port Authority is. There's a number of us that understands the Hawke's Bay Creek Agreement, and we know where the responsibility lies in the government. So there's not any one of them individually, unless we could decipher it. We're going to hold them both responsible for their failures over the last 2 decades. And so the Grand Bahama Port Authority has no excuses as of today, neither does government. unless they actually can show us exactly what is the hindrance is.
Interesting. I want to read a couple of Facebook comments. These comments come from Miko knows. Miko says, if we develop the infrastructure of businesses, resorts, and residential development would just need to plug in. Every development or construction project has to engineer their design as independent of infrastructure and configure how to connect utilities. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, if they understand Freeport more specifically, you already at almost probably 90% of the lots in Freeport already has fiber to the premise, already has potable water to the premises, and already has electricity to the premises. You only need to show up and build, pull your permit and build. So the infrastructure has been on Grand Bahama for decades now. And what is needed now as technology has advanced, whether you go east or west, you have access to the same infrastructure. There's absolutely no excuse because Grand Bahama is a wide open territory with no blockage like in New Providence, you got a little quick in a little corner and whatever else. We have an open territory and superior global standard infrastructure, internet, water, cable, whatever it is that you need. We have room for solar energy. Unlike Nassau where you have those shotgun lots, you could start from a quarter acre to a half acre and almost put a solar farm in your property and over your property. So Grand Bahama is poised. In fact, no other island in the Bahamas, or I would say in the Caribbean, is more prepared for infrastructure-wise for development of those type of home, whether it be hotels, whether it be home development, whether it be high rises, whether it be whatever it is. Grand Bahama, you could come on day one, pull your permit, and be connected to all your utilities as soon as you could finish building. You'll have electricity, water, everything right there to build.
All right. Miko is again asking another question or making another comment on Facebook saying, what about flood control?
Well, that is something, we are in global warming and climate change. And the best way to avoid any type of significant impact other than building strength and resilience into your buildings is to simply build 50 feet off the ground. And so, so it is not going to happen. So we can't avoid the impact of climate change. However, you can take preparatory steps for building at least 3 feet off the ground. We have conversations going on right now. There's the FICA Lab, a think tank that is going on right now, headed by Pete mentioning her name, Eden Marigator, and there's the Blue Action Lab, headed by Rupert Haywood, that is beginning to examine creation of resilience type technology and to be embedded. Conversations are going on to actually begin to offer and tender solutions and offer individuals to enter these spaces funding to allow them to bring and test out solutions of Grand Bahama to face many of the things that we're having. So there is full conversation, but here's the thing. We would love for the collective intelligence of all the Bahamas to be involved in this, but we need them to have the proper information rather than giving us uninformed opinions. So we want people like Miko and other people to actually have full access to information so they can have a full comprehension of the environment they are hoping to change. But as far as water management, very achievable here in Grand Bahama. We have the canals, we have, whatever it is. And so we just have to build back better, forward, together. That's the type of environment we have to have. Just be focused on the new embracing of the new environment to say, let's anticipate we have another 30-year or 100-year storm. Let's anticipate the 30-year or whatever tidal rising we have. Let's anticipate the storms having. We must understand that Singapore, that we so like to admire, Seychelles and other places are in area where, in Japan, they are an area where typhoons, which is the equivalent of Hurricane 4 and 5 and whatever, hits them almost every other year, just like we get hurricanes.
Mm-hmm.
We just have to now rethink what we've been doing, anticipating this growth in the volume that we expect. So we can build. Miami has high rises and everything else. They don't even have the what do you call the root, the infrastructure, the not the substrate where they cut into the ground to build. They don't have the type of strength. They have to go down feet, maybe 10, 20, 30 feet. We are built on hard rock already. So we already have an advantage to do the same thing Miami do. Look at exactly how to engineer these buildings, and we can build back better, stronger together.
Okay, we're going to take a quick commercial break. And then on the other side of the break, we're going to continue the conversation with C. Alan Johnson. Our discussion today is all about Grand Bahama. Is Grand Bahama poised for a long overdue renaissance with all of these major announcements coming forward about hotel sale and airport upgrade and port being upgraded? We're getting excited, but understandably, Grand Bahamians are saying we can believe it when we see it. We cautiously optimistic here. Listen, we understand. So we'll be back right after these words from our sponsors. Stay with us. This is GPS.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 Hyperimmune Egg Powder to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for a rim fence and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Tracklight, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires, cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Glasses love.
To stay healthy, it's crucial to make sure you get the nutrition you need every day. But it's difficult to get all your recommended vitamins and minerals from food alone. Even in the United States, 94% of people are deficient in at least one nutrient. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Longevity is a simple, convenient, and affordable way to help your body get the essential nutrients it needs. It's an advanced plant-driven multivitamin mineral complex that contains certified organic whole foods, trace minerals, and antioxidants. BTT 2.0 supports your body's natural defense system with a proprietary blend of energy-boosting and body-loving nutrients, plus prebiotics, probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes that support digestion. With an unusually high ORAC score of 8,000, you get even more antioxidants to help combat free radicals that can cause damage to your cells. But to get the most benefit and value from any multivitamin, your body must be able to break down the nutrients so you can fully absorb them. Otherwise, they'll just pass through your system without doing any good. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 was specially formulated with synergizing cofactors to ensure you get maximum nutrient absorption. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 is the easiest way to give your body the balance and complete daily vitamin mineral supplement it needs for optimal support of your overall health. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
This portion of GPS is brought to you by Tiki Bikini Hut at Junkanoo Beach. Great food, cool tropical drinks, and family fun in the sun.
Welcome back to GPS, Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm in your company. We're talking today about Grand Bahama. Is Grand Bahama poised for a long overdue renaissance with all of these announcements of major things happening there? People are getting excited. However, the former Minister of State for Finance, Kwesi Thompson, isn't quite ready to break out the champagne glasses as yet. He is warning Grand Bahamians that they should be cautiously optimistic.
Grand Bahamians they're not excited by announcements anymore. We've seen a number of different MOUs, we've seen a number of different letter of intents, and the reality is we need the development to start, we need jobs. That is what really Grand Bahamians need. But we ought to be cautiously optimistic. There are a number of questions. The devil is always in the details of this. And so we await to hear the details. We await to hear the development plan. We await to hear when renovations are going to start. We await to hear what's going to happen with the existing employees, what will happen with the lighthouse point. We wait to hear the timeline for the development and what is the overall plan for tourism on the island.
Well, I'm talking today to C. Alan Johnson. C. Alan, you know what I found interesting about what Mr. Thompson had to say? He's right, the devil is in the details. And I'm wondering, where was he when the last deal was being negotiated? Because the devil was really in those details in terms of how poor a deal that was. What do you think?
Well, and guess what? He was the Minister of Finance and the Minister for Grand Bahama about
yes.
So it's a touch of hypocrisy.
Honestly,
I mean, I actually support his position now. I just didn't support his position then. Mm-hmm. And so this is where you want it to be continuous. But I do hope that he use the strength of his platform to demand that they don't practice the hypocrisy that may have been practiced by him, that they actually do give us the details. And again, when you begin to see things hidden away from us, we could expect the worst. Because when there is deals that for the benefit of the Bahamian people, they'll be they'll be shoving it down our throat, repeating us and telling us. And so as these 60 days expire, for whatever reason they may be using to shop the deal, to shop finance, they have had access to the data room for a very short period of time based on when it went out to tender. For those who don't understand what the data room is, the data room in a negotiated environment is where you have access to the books to see all of the details, the damages. It's like a pre due diligence. And so what you then do is after you have come to an agreement in concept, you would then go to the properties to verify if the information, this is what they call due diligence that's going on right now, to verify if the information provided was correct in its details. And so the due diligence is going on right now on that particular property. So we just hope that no surprises comes out of that. I can tell you though, one of the major hindrance to all of these deals, except for the cruise part, is the fact that we need a major airport. And so you could have a hotel room and 1,000 hotel rooms and 10,000 bed and breakfast. So unless we're going to have a Star Trek machine to metamorph them into the Grand Bahama, we need a world-class airport to actually happen. I think that was out for tender until the 15th. So hopefully they'll announce a deal on that. I hear the minister already stated that it'll be finished by 2025. Mm-hmm. But Grand Bahamians can't wait essentially 2.5 years for that to happen. We need a temporary fix. And then we get, like you say, give us the appetizer from the business aspect. And as we begin to build it again, we talk about building experiences. We talk about building support structure for this hotel or this renaissance of the Grand Bahamian hospitality economy. Now, let's pay attention. Hospitality is what people experience. Tourism is what people do. So we need to build the tourism product because, yes, they will come to experience the Bahamas under hospitality, but the tourism aspect is what people do. And so these are businesses that have to be developed and nurtured and be prepared on day one when individuals land. Not, oh, I'm going to start an adventure park. I'm going to start a sea entertainment or whatever. You have the orange economy. You have individuals who have to develop shows and integration. And this is where the devil is in the details, because if you're going to have 11 restaurants, clearly we want to have some sort of bohemian taste, flair, entertainment in each of those. Then you're going to have 10 bars. So that's 21 major, supposed to be world-class, first-class type of environment. We have to have individuals, whether it be on another island or even here on Grand Bahama, be prepared to be able to integrate into those as they are being built out, so they could participate actually to see where they would fit into those restaurants to provide part of the Bahamian experience. And so there's a lot of details that's expected coming from the Ministry of Grand Bahama. And so I'm hoping that they are ready for it. But again, also, that's a shared responsibility from the Grand Bahama Port Authority if they are going to take any credit for this, regardless of their failures of the past. Because remember, this was also under the purview of the Grand Bahama Port Authority and their partner. Their partner in the airport, their partner in the harbor, no, not in the harbor anymore, but their partner in this hotel was once Hutchison Whampoa. Mm-hmm. So Hutchison Whampoa still has constructive control of 50% of the land, along with the Grand Bahama Port Authority. Individuals going to need access to that for building out and developing and bed and breakfasts and VRBOs and restaurants and experiences and stuff. We're going to need that. The Bahamas government have access to the Crown land in East and West or whatever it is. And so you could see where you need a detailed conversation, because again, this so-called impetus, the spark that started Grand Bahama, involves the 50% of Bahamians that is unemployed or underemployed. I'm sure those 100,000 individuals around the Bahamas who is underemployed or unemployed is very interested in what is going to happen on Grand Bahama to see if they can find their place, with a better homestead. Because again, I told you, we have the land available, we have all of those things available to actually incorporate them into Grand Bahama. And so they too have to make preparations to do so. Consider this again. Can we have a list of all of the jobs? You say you're going to have 1,000 jobs. Oh, good. Can we have a list of those 1,000 positions so individuals could begin to prepare themselves? And if you can talk with 3 to 4 years, certification, verification, some training, some upgrading, some upskilling, tell us what are those jobs. In fact, you could tell us what the construction jobs is now, because I am involved with a number of contractors right now, and they don't know how to position themselves to take advantage of these construction jobs. If you know the 2,000 construction jobs, then you must know exactly what they're going to be doing. So if we can begin to have a conversation with the contractors and the skills and the construction skills on the islands, they can prepare themselves. Consider, for decades now, a lot of these individuals have not went and improve their supply. You have contractors who may still have old tools. They may need new vehicles, new tools, new hammers, new saws, new skill saws, new whatever it is they need. They need to now reacquire these things that has been deteriorating over the last 2 decades because they could not invest in it, because nothing was happening just to buy it for the sake of happening. So we need a business conversation. And this is why a group of business people and individuals are moving to have this conversation with the the Grand Bahama Economic Council, so that we can ask the relevant questions, so that individuals can be making informed decisions as to how they will integrate into these development. Like you say, we have the hotels. You hear the wonderful things they say they're going to do with the hotel. We have the Port Lucaia itself going to have to be upgraded to meet these new standards. Then you have the Port Lucaia Marina that is going to have to be revamped, because that is begin some serious deterioration. They say they're going to be building a hotel on another property that's next to that. So again, that's another major hotel or major brand that's going to come. Then you have the O2 with these $1 million home development on the other side, facing the Lucaia. Now you have the Weller Group with the Discovery Bay and the Bahamas Action Lab with Mr. Rupert Haywood. That is another major marina, first-class marina and hotel that wants to go there. Now, add the other things that will have to cascade on top of that. Here in West End, we have a mega development called Reunion City, Reunion Key, that is supposed to be for the revitalization and replacement of which is another few hundred, if not few thousand rooms and hotels.
Mhm.
So then there's another supposedly development and negotiation in the middle between in the West Grand Bahama. So you have all of these major things. These are in the middle of in the billions of dollars that's going to happen supposedly within the next 4 years of this administration. So Bahamians need not to be ambushed with their coming to market. Bahamians need to fully understand how will they integrate into the economy and where will they individually and collectively fit in. Note my said, I didn't say Grand Bahamians, I said Bahamians.
Mhm.
Because there may be opportunities where you are in that sardine can that you all like to call New Providence. I mean, you'd like to call Nassau, which is actually New Providence. I think we have an opportunity for Grand Bahama to empty you guys of your problems. So if we empty what y'all call the inner city and over city or whatever you call it, if we could empty that, then y'all could tear down some of those buildings and build y'all a better city to match the new Grand Bahama that is going to be coming out. You know, though we don't mind that Grand Bahama will and can become the capital of the Bahamas. We just need a stroke of the pen in Parliament. We got the majority now with the PLP to simply say, since Grand Bahama will now have the 500,000 people, Bahamians and for other people, just rename, make Grand Bahama Island West End the capital of the Bahamas, and Grand Bahama Island will hold the infrastructure. And I 100% support this as the new president of this new republic.
You something else. All right, you touched on something very, very important, and obviously that is development with the airport. Because, like you rightfully pointed out, without that, without an adequate airport, all of this just you won't be able to have the degree of success that that you're going to need to have without a proper airport. And so let's talk about what has been announced as far as it relates to the development of the airport. The government has said that there's a deadline of January 1, 2025 for the completion of the first phase of the world-class airport for Grand Bahama, that according to Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism Chester Cooper. And he said while delivering a communication in Parliament this week that one of the main impediments to Grand Bahama's economic revival is airlift. No surprise there. And so last month, the government launched phase one of the public-private partnership program to design, build, finance, operate, and maintain several airports throughout the Bahamas. And according to Cooper, the Grand Bahama International Airport is first on the government's agenda under that program. He says we are seeking experienced and qualified private sector partners for the redevelopment of the Grand Bahama International Airport with the objective of revitalizing Grand Bahama's economy. And he also said the first phase was launched on the Department of Aviation's website and asked interested entities to submit requests for pre-qualifications and a project information memorandum for the Grand Bahama International Airport, closing May 15, which was 4 days ago. Yeah, and he advised that there are several interested parties. However, a further statement will be made in due course. Now, a very necessary step. But like you pointed out, 2025, that's a whole other 3 years.
Yes.
And Grand Bahama really doesn't have the luxury of waiting that long for that to take place. So what happens in the meantime?
This is where, first let me tell you what needs to happen. The airport is there. It has not been touched since Dorian. Literally untouched. In the same damage, the same debris, everything is still in the buildings. It's a gaping hole. On this side of the when you're looking from the approaching the airport, it looks like a building with some damages, minor, just boarded up. But when you go to the airport side, it's an open, gaping wound that sits there, and essentially what we need is anybody even landing right now will wonder that they come to a bombed out television set and a movie set. So we need a stopgap type environment for that airport, or something to be fixed for use. Because yes, we in the 2 years, the monies and the passengers and the potential that will be lost by waiting for it to be built will be a problem. You have the United States government, as nice as you may want to put it, is all but abandoning Grand Bahama and their pre-clearance type environment. So when you talk about the volumes of people coming in, most of our passengers will come from the United States, even if it's through connections. We're going to need an accelerated gateway for them to be able to go through to the U.S. and back and forth, technology based. So there has to be a plan now, not later, now, for a stopgap measure for airlifts to be restored to Grand Bahama. Because what happens is we can begin, as you say, these individuals begin these MSME small businesses. As they begin to grow, they're not. If you have a new tour package, it's not going to instantly wake up as a major tour place. They have to build capacity slowly. So we need guests to begin to come in now for bed and breakfasts that we could begin to build now. So, and for the existing hotels, so we could begin to have a flow of revenue and have these individuals with plans for entering the hospitality and tourism industry to begin a slow but systematic, strategic build out of their businesses. So the airport is absolutely necessary. We still have the harbor also. So the beauty about it is we're about almost spitting distance from West Palm Beach and the state of Florida. So in conjunction with that, we also need maybe a strategy for traffic between the two by boat. I'm not talking about the cruise where they come and live on but I'm talking about individuals that transit like the way the Bohingi and other places do. Maybe even the fast ferry could consider it or something. And maybe there's even an opportunity for Bahamians to get involved in bringing passengers to Grand Bahama. But of course, they would have to know what part of the magic strategy. Now let's come back to the airport, and this applies to Plan B for the hotel. But we also need to have a Plan B or even a Plan A for the airport. That we need to consider a sovereign trust for the airport. What I mean by sovereign trust, the biggest problem we have is we say government don't know how to run businesses, but we love to sell it to foreigners who runs the business. So that tells us that it is not the problem with the business, the problem is with those running the business. Putting the airport in a sovereign trust and reaching the capacity that we anticipate with the Minister Cooper already saying that he wants to have an additional 2.5 million tourists in 3 years coming to the Bahamas. That comes out to be 6,000 tourists per day coming to the Bahamas. A major of those will come to the Grand Bahama. So if you look at the pass-through the airport, you could very see that you can calculate based on that systematic growth the ability to pay for this airport in maybe 15 years as opposed to 30. So, but by having a sovereign trust that you could surrender this airport to, because no matter who comes, government still always step up like they do in the Nassau International Airport and continuously provide some form of sovereign guarantee. But here it is that you have this sovereign trust. And we have enough now where we start talking about this carbon credits and everything else. We have producible land that we could put in part of this trust to act as a security to raise $1 billion, if you want to use that as an example, to build this airport. But the airport itself, in the shortest period of time, can become self-funding. I'm sure I would love to do a show with you on just how does this sovereign wealth fund work as opposed to where we think it works. And that's for putting the hotel in one. Here's why you'd want it in this sovereign trust. You will then get a sovereign asset management. The same way we're selling it to these individuals, we could have hired them to come in and run it for us by us capitalizing it ourselves. We talk about this so-called DARE bill, this digital assets bill. Well, billions of dollars is made and traded in this environment every day. By tokenizing these assets, we could very easily raise the capital that is necessary for the restoration and integration of these into the economy. We already have the 7 million people per year, of which 40% of them are first-time visitors. 40% of our 7 million a year. So we're already losing, imagine this, you're losing 40% of your customers and still maintaining a 7 million people a year. So what happens if you start retaining those 40%, filling up the rooms which is about 70 or 80% occupancy, filling up the other 20%, building new additional rooms, and you have airlift. You can see where the airport itself being run by a sovereign asset management. This is not family, friends, lovers, or anybody that you appoint. This is an independent company that comes in and manages for you as opposed to owning it. And so we have to move away from the old model. We're talking about all of these new things. Oh, digital this, that, whatever, but we're not actually applying it to the actual industries within our country. And in fact, the bed and breakfasts can be financed by the very digital assets we're talking about, but no one is teaching or preparing our people who are ill prepared to participate to actually tap into these type of resources. We talk about the green, the blue, the orange, the digital, the conceptual, the aquamarine, all of these different things, but no one tells us how. And that's the conversation. This is where, again, the Grand Bahama Economic Council comes in. We can do that for Grand Bahama, and that's where our focus is going to be. But this has to be done across the entire Bahamas as to which now, which new, and which next. So again, we need a conversation that includes all of us. Because again, if we rely on the intelligentsia of the family, friends, and lovers surrounded by political parties, we're going to continue to find ourselves in a deficit. The 300,000 of us adults will always outnumber the 100, 200, or 300 of those political parties in intelligence and what is necessary to solve our problems in the 21st century. And that's the type of conversation we have to have now. We need to put away the partisan politics. I see that Michael Pintard, as leader of the opposition, is somewhat calling for that type of synergy. I think the government of the Bahamas should accept his challenge and of creating a new level of politics, a new level of dialogue, where he doesn't oppose government. He acts as government in waiting and challenge Mr. Pintard to present his ideas or the alternative government in waiting as to what he would do. I'm also going to encourage that Mr. Pintard should also act as government in waiting and bring together individuals who can utilize the power of his office as an advocate, as a podium to push those ideas, seeing that he has access to the press. So voices like myself and others who may not necessarily be heard, that has lived in this 21st century before it reached, can, in the absence of being able to have access to government the way we would, maybe we can have access to him, and he can act as the voice to make sure that our voice on Grand Bahama be heard. Considering this, you have a potential prime minister sitting on Grand Bahama in the name of Michael Pintard, and you have a place that's called F&M country. So we would kind of think that he would utilize this as a jump-off point, considering that Grand Bahama is the linchpin for the development of the Bahamas. So myself and others, going to call for more involvement so our voices can be heard through him. Because again, government has, if you say the opposition has a say, government has its way. But if you begin to collect the individuals who want genuine change in this country beyond the political partisanness, we can bring about a new Bahamas. And I'm looking forward to this opportunity. And I think Grand Bahama, this hotel, the container port, the Weller Group, the O2 Group, the Aulokaya Development, the Port Locaila Development, the Reunion Key in West Grand Bahama, individuals like myself and the hundreds of others who want to get involved in the bed and breakfast and the hospitality and tourism industry. I think we can create the new Riviera of the Caribbean right here on Grand Bahama.
All right, sounds really interesting. We have to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to continue this conversation with C. Alan Johnson, talking about the potential renaissance of Grand Bahama with all of these major announcements coming up. We're going to talk about that on the other side of the break. We're going to go a little deeper. So this is GPS, and we invite you to stay tuned. We'll be back.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 hyperimmune egg powder to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your longevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for rims, paints, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Tracklight, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires. Cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Glasses love.
To stay healthy, it's crucial to make sure you get the nutrition you need every day. But it's difficult to get all your recommended vitamins and minerals from food alone. Even in the United States, 94% of people are deficient in at least one nutrient. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Longevity is a simple, convenient, and affordable way to help your body get the essential nutrients it needs. It's an advanced plant-driven multivitamin mineral complex that contains certified organic whole foods, trace minerals, and antioxidants. BTT 2.0 supports your body's natural defense system with a proprietary blend of energy-boosting and body-loving nutrients, plus prebiotics, probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes that support digestion. With an unusually high ORAC score of 8,000, you get even more antioxidants to help combat free radicals that can cause damage to your cells. But to get the most benefit and value from any multivitamin, your body must be able to break down the nutrients so you can fully absorb them. Otherwise, they'll just pass through your system without doing any good. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 was specially formulated with synergizing cofactors to ensure you get maximum nutrient absorption. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 is the easiest way to give your body the balance and complete daily vitamin mineral supplement it needs for optimal support of your overall health. To learn more, contact your longevity associate.
This portion of GPS is brought to you by Tiki Bikini Hut at Junkanoo Beach. Great food, cool tropical drinks, and family fun in the sun.
Welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm in your company, along with my guest today, C. Alan Johnson. We are talking Grand Bahama today. Is Grand Bahama poised for its long-awaited renaissance with all of these major announcements that are being made with regard to the hotel sale of Grand Lucaya and airport upgrade on the horizon, and Carnival is going to move forward with the cruise port. It all sounds wonderful. Is this the beginning of what many have been hoping for a long time? Love to hear from you. The telephone numbers to call, 326-0271, 326-0271, 326-0271, or 326-0272, 326-0272, 326-0272, and the WhatsApp number, in case you'd like to send us a message, 824-9952, 824-9952. Now, see, Alan, for a long time, you have been advocating that Grand Bahama is a prime location in terms of its digital preparedness. And a buzzword that we're hearing nowadays, that is a very sexy word when it comes to development, is micro cities. With all of this, all of these announcements going on as it relates to the development that's coming on board, the hotel sale, etc., Is this a good spring point? I don't know, spring point is the right or yeah.
Jump off, springboard.
Springboard. Thank you, springboard for the establishment of a micro city in Grand Bahama.
Absolutely. In fact, New Providence could fit, the whole of New Providence could fit in Grand Bahama multiple times. In fact, New Providence could fit in Freeport. So there's opportunity for what we would call smart cities, smart communities, and smart whatever you want to call it. Grand Bahama, if looked at as a country, would be the second most digitally prepared country in the world based on location and a bunch of other factors. The Bahamas itself would be the number one digitally prepared country in the world. I want people to understand that when we say the word digital preparedness, it's not digital utilization. The fact that we're prepared and don't utilize it, it doesn't take away from the fact that we are the most digitally prepared country in the world. The Bahamas itself is the only place that I'm aware of that today can offer constitutional privacy and constitutional sovereignty of data. So it gives us a unique opportunity to offer what nobody else can offer when we start talking about even these digital assets. If we begin to look at doing digitizing, and again, this requires some digital mindsets. I've observed some digitizing mindset, which is not the same as digital mindset, who has been speaking to what the potential is and actually invoking some of the things that is being done. For instance, you have the digital assets bill. It's beautiful in enveloping things for Bahamians to get jobs or for placement of companies in the Bahamas. But we have yet to move to creating an ecosystem for Bahamians to actually create in that space. And so when we start talking about smart community, you begin to talk about the bill for carbon credits, etc. That within itself is a poison pill to what is necessary to creating these smart communities, because the government has taken a position of owning all rights and funding derived from someone like myself going into that arena. So now that we have began the conversation, the vehicle is on the road, we can now look the same way they did yesterday, with some adjustment of the digital assets bill to meet the demands of the international community. We now need to look at the digital dare bill and the environmental bill or carbon credit bill, as we speak of, some adjustments for inclusion of Bahamians into these type of models, not from a digitizing mindset, but from a digital mindset, where we could encourage Bahamians to get involved in the developing of these smart communities and these smart businesses and these smart homes and communities and these cities. Again, we could build multiple cities on Grand Bahama, and that they designated smart building, smart homes. You know why it's beautiful? Is the fact that Grand Bahama does not have the built congestion that New Providence has. And so if you come to Grand Bahama, it's a master plan community, East and West Grand Bahama, with the exception of 8 Mile Rock, which is begging to become a livable neighborhood. We talk about urban renewal. There's an announcement coming soon for a livable neighborhood, but it's beginning to happen. But when you look at Freeport and East Grand Bahama, it's basically vacant land. So you could go and imprint your blueprint on those particular spots. I said you have the digital infrastructure. There's one small secret. I often talk about this digitization of the Bahamian economy, and we have been talking about this for a number of decades now. We are now 28 years. Actually, from 1992 to now, that's 20. I'm losing count. 30 years into what is called the digital economy. We are 30 years into the digital economy. We are actually into the second digital revolution and third technology revolution, fourth industrial revolution, industry 4.0, and a fifth going into the sixth social revolution. In fact, industry 5.0, we still in the Bahamas have not adjusted to industry 4.0, and industry 5.0 has begun to evolve as the United States and China begins to have this fight for digital supremacy around the world. Again, Bahamas is ideal. This is why you see the United States embassies being built. This is why China has a focus on the Bahamian economy. We just don't understand that we are the bride that these two knights are fighting for. And so we are totally oblivious to the economic opportunities for which they are trying to possess. So yes, Grand Bahama is poised for the so-called digital economy, the so-called data economy. No other place in the Caribbean is better prepared. No other place in the Bahamas is better prepared for the orange economy, for the blue economy, the green economy, the digital economy, the knowledge economy, the conceptual economy, and to wrap that up, as we call it, which is we have an economic model again that has been expressed by Eden Mary Gator called the aqua marine economy, which is a combination of the blue, the green, the ocean, the orange, the knowledge, the conceptual, and digital economy. We have a population, about 70% of the population by the next election will be under the age of 45. These individuals have yet to be integrated into the 21st century economic models that the world has adopted before COVID and has accelerated since COVID. The world has moved 1 year every 3 months of COVID. So essentially, we are 8 years into the future with the advancement of technology like before. In the last 2 years, we have moved more in 2 years than we did in the last 100 years, technologically advanced. Forget the fact that we, as Bahamians, may not have adopted these new platforms and technology or these new concepts. The fact that the world doesn't care whether we adopt it or not. It's going to move forward with or without us. Time doesn't stop because Bahamians say, we're on Bahamian time. They don't care. They're going to move forward. So it's time for us now to accelerate in the adoption of these technologies and creating the ecosystem, because essentially what you're asking for is there an ecosystem, potential for an ecosystem, because again, it's fertile ground. We have to plant these fruits into the ground. Yes, there's a potential for smart communities, smart home, which is totally integrated. We have a grid system that is open, unlike New Providence, all entangled. Okay, we have perfect environment for the first smart island in the entire Caribbean. This is the place.
Now, we can't ignore the fact that there are some things that could throw a monkey wrench in all of this, and that is the external forces that we have no control over. If we see what is going on with the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine, which is impacting economies worldwide, particularly as it relates to the price of oil, which trickles down into gasoline prices, which obviously will affect electricity prices. And you guys in Grand Bahama already have an issue as it relates to, you know, the utility companies there. Yeah, it's already crazy. So how do we? What needs to happen to create sort of a buffer for external shocks that we have no control over to ensure that they don't derail all of these good plans?
Let's first say, my parents as a young boy, they said to me, to us, there's no such thing as a problem. There's an unapplied solution. Are you prepared to be the person to apply that solution, no matter how uncomfortable it is?
Right.
We are but a pimple on the backside of a killer whale, so small, unnoticeable. It's that just that, you know, if I were to take a coin that I have somewhere here, right? If I were to take a coin, I'm trying to find one or something. Just take something smaller, this little pocket, right? Here's a pocket. Here's me. I put this right here. I'm looking at the problem. Guess what? As small as this problem is now blocking my sight.
Mm-hmm.
It's only when I move it away and look at it in its proper perspective, I begin to see it's nothing but a minor problem.
Mm-hmm.
Proper prior preparation prevents piss poor performances, or you could say proper prior preparation and planning prevents piss poor performances. We have never done that. When we talk about feeding 400,000 people, yes, we have not made those arrangements. But even when we look at our neighbor to the north, who is courting us just like China is, we are in a position to go to both of them and make us a priority in what it is that we need. In fact, let's have a competition of who will feed us the most or give us the tools. We have we don't lack protein. Okay, we have an ocean filled of fish, filled of seafood that can feed the Bahamas probably for the next 100 years. We may lack what we call the things we accompany in the store. What we say, we want the cornflakes and we want these processed foods, etc., that is necessary. We are in a position right now where we could almost send barges over to the United States to get what is it that we need to feed us. And this is where we have these uh, misaligned conversation. We talk about food security, and the problem is that we have no idea. I've not heard a single government in 20 years talk about food security in its proper context. I hear them talk about BAMSI and everything else. Let me say, and I invite the talking heads to come for me, BAMSI is not food security. BAMSI is food sovereignty. Food security is a program or regimen that you can keep enough food in place to feed your citizens or the residents of your country for 6 months or 1 year or 18 months or 2 years. That's food security. Food sovereignty is being able to produce that which you need for food security. But we don't have these type of conversations. So, but when you talk about what is necessary for grain, rice, whether it be powdered milk, cheese, staples for us to survive, as opposed to live the luxurious life that we need to eat, that is what we need to address. And we have one of the greatest producing nations, right, 60 miles off the coast of our Grand Bahama, one of the most strategic ports in this hemisphere. And so we just haven't sat down and say, what are the real problems we are facing? And how do we resolve these no matter what steps that is necessary? And so in fact, we're not good at data at all for somebody to tell me now, what is the social safety net that is necessary for us to invoke to solve this pending crisis? Because I'm going to tell you, this food crisis and these global inflation and stagnation and actually for me it's a pending recession that is coming will impact us. The problem is we don't have leadership that is talking about what can we do to minimize or negate the impact of this using the 21st century tools that is here. We talk about farming in a container. Okay, guess what? If we have to eat cabbage and carrot and lettuce and tomatoes and fish, guess what? Can you imagine if we have to settle for some Bahamian fish and a salad for dinner and some other minor different things rather than the garbage we are now consuming? Then let's look at eating healthy and changing out, using this crisis as an opportunity to eat better, to eat healthy, because we could get containers right now that can produce leafy greens and small vegetables and potatoes and stuff. We could get that here in a matter of weeks. We already have Eden Farm as one of the individuals on New Providence that utilizes that technology. And so, again, we like to talk about, we're going to grow farming and agriculture in the Bahamas with 2 and 3 and 4 inches of soil. Well, technology now allows us to address the shortcomings that we have here in the Bahamas. And, and they say, how do you eat an elephant compared to how you eat a grape? The same, just one bite at a time. And so we just have to look at these major problems we have and break them down into segments and utilize the technology and the information that is available in the world today to actually bring resolution to these things we have. Just take, for instance, let's look at every island. Let's create a social safety net as to what we need to feed those people on that island for 6 months or 1 year or even 2 years. And let's have an actual know what it is. It simply say you can't manage what you can't measure, and you can't measure what you refuse to acknowledge. So let's begin to acknowledge on every single island where we have people, what is it we need to feed them, house them, do whatever. Let's solve that problem island by island. Come to Grand Bahama. Your greatest challenge will be New Providence. Grand Bahama and Abaco will pose a little, not major challenge, but a little gymnastics. but we can look at solving. So if we eliminate, we have 30 inhabited islands. If we eliminate 30 islands away from the major equations, then we could look at new providence. But guess what happens? In a crisis, we could look to see where individuals who's facing imminent harm from whatever impacts us, we could look to see and have a strategy of how we could integrate those individuals for as part of a social safety net on these other islands, what is necessary, or have whatever happens produced for there. But we have to have a strategy rather than these 5-year celebrity plans. And so, but we're not having a national development, future focus type discussion. So yes, we are going to be impacted for lack of action, not for us being deliberately targeted. And so the United States needs some things, and we need to have some things too. So let's have a real conversation on how we can negate the impact of what's happening. One second, I can't hear you.
Sorry about that. I forgot to unmute my microphone. There's a lot of noise and activity in my neighborhood right now, so I've been muting my microphone to keep the background noise from interrupting the show. So, considering the last administration's attempt at the sale of the hotel and how well that did or did not go, and everything that we have been discussing thus far, what are some of the lessons that you think this current administration should take from the last administration in terms of what not to do to make sure that this goes well? You spent quite a bit of time talking about communication, opening the lines of communication for persons on the ground in Grand Bahama, for instance, to be a part of the discussion. What are some of the other things, or if you want to touch more on that, you can, that this administration can learn from the failures of the past administration so they don't make the same mistakes?
Absolute good question. Essentially, every community, if you go and look at every election, what do they say to people of Grand Bahama? I'm sorry we didn't listen to you. Every single one of them says to us, we're sorry we didn't listen to you. We were arrogant in our positioning. We thought we had all the answers. We made a lot of promises that we didn't deliver. Like, they can actually, you heard it from the previous PLP administration, and you heard it from this recent administration. Well, how about this time, maybe this administration can actually listen to the people to see what is it we need. It's like, again, you're a doctor treating me with a drive-by and you don't even see or hear me. So you drive by me and you say, see Alan Johnson, why don't you take some Panadol for that problem you have, not realizing that somebody shot me. So,
my God.
And so you're not hearing me. And so how is it that you have not engaged me to see the problems that I'm facing, to understand that I may have an intimate knowledge of the problems that I'm facing individually. And then if you talk to all of us, you may get an understanding of what we face collectively and actually bring about resolution. And many times, if you go to the doctor, they ask the patient sometimes, what do you think it is? And the patient usually, by virtue of that description, gives you so much information that you could have more clarity on deciding what's next to do. Most people, when you come for their personal life, how do you decide for me and my children and my grandchildren what we want, and you haven't spoken to us? So you have determined that your small grouping of individuals that's collected, what it is I used to say, they have been elected and somehow believe they've been selected. They've been appointed and somehow they believe they are now anointed. And so they are now knowing all things. I use a good example is, in the last administration, we talk about a technology hub and everything. I know individuals that would have problems taking phones out of the box that was basically saying they were going to develop a technology hub. And they were super geniuses during the 4.5 years of the previous administration. Today, they're walking around trying to figure out how to fix their computers and how to do these things. But mind you, these were the things they were going to fix. But for 4.5 years, they were claiming they were going to build an infrastructure for the creation of new things. And this is where we have the tendency of to the victor goes the spoils, and to the country goes to the doils, to the garbage bin. And so we have not included Bahamians in our development or in our conversation. We are so small. We are big in our brand. We are big in our influence, though we may not use it. But we are very small in a population, and the opportunities that we have is so vast, which is often overlooked due to the arrogance of ignorance, which often leads to paralysis of analysis, and to most, it also leads to paralysis from analysis. And so the problem is that every 5 years, we have a small group of individuals of maybe about 1,500 people, if you count all of the boards and elect maybe 2,500 individuals, who somehow seems to benefit from the largesse of governance, and the rest of us just went back further and further. We could only need to look at 1973 as the jump off of the Bahamas. In 1973, we had a GDP in the Bahamas of $600 million. At the same time, we had a population of 200,000 people. Well, we have doubled that population. But get this, we owned the economy as we moved from 1973 forward. That Bahamians began to move into banking, into hospitality and everything. But let's jump off 49 years later or 50 years later. We now have a GDP of $16 billion. We went from 600 million to 16 billion, that only doubled the economy. Yet we own less of the economy than we did in 1973. This is the group of people that say they own between 2 and 3 million acres. I hear the argument right now about land ownership. I am one to believe, and again, this is another conversation for another day, that all the land in the Bahamas and all that we could reacquire should be put into a sovereign trust. And if you want access to the land, Bahamian or otherwise, I'll give it to you for 99 years. And if you have a problem with that, I will guarantee you that we will renew your lease if you come in person. In 99 years, we will renew the lease for you personally. So we have no problem. Still have to be 150. We'll renew your lease. So by then, you should have gotten full use and thing. But again, these are shifting policies. So we talk about Singapore. Singapore owns 85% of the land in trust for the Bahamian people. If you look at the fact that we have 2 million acres, just an example that we have, whether it be in the BNT or in Crown land or in protected area. But the mere fact that we talk about these whole new technologies and carbon credits and everything, if you say each of these land could generate $300,000 over the next year, each average across for development purpose. We haven't given them up. Instantaneously, 50,000 acres out of the 2 million acres would bring an instant value of $15 billion into the treasury. That's enough to retire the national debt and give us a good jump off. Okay, good. Let's put 100,000 of these acres, 150,000. Oh, let's run 200,000, 10% of the 2 million acres, and let's put $50,000 on the value. You're talking about $100 billion. That can be, and you don't own the land. This is where you have a developmental value that we can then have it. The key, though, is to have this in a sovereign wealth fund and a separate trust, so it isn't abused by the 5-year celebrities, where it designates for Bahamians on how it's going to be used. Because the first thing you want, I hear people say give Bahamians $100,000 and all of these different things. No, what you want to do is, what if I give you $100,000 and your light bill goes up to $2,000 and your mortgage goes up? It doesn't solve you. How about if I create an environment for you to exist, and at the same time, I've giving you world-class healthcare for free. I've reduced your light bill to practically zero, utilizing renewable energy. I've given you a world-class education that you don't have to pay for. So what I've done is I've improved the life of everyone, as opposed to giving everybody $100,000 and nobody goes to work anymore. So in essence, you have built you've created an environment, you've created a country for someone else. So I'm simply saying is that what we can do is simply utilize the resources that God has blessed us with. We have 200 miles of exclusive economic zone for catching fish, which goes back to the challenges you say that we could be faced with feeding. We have supposed to be challenged with housing. We have challenges with immigration. Again, let's. This is something that we didn't touch on.
Well, no, we have to take a commercial break. So yeah, let's take this commercial break, and then when we come back on the other side of the break, we're gonna take this conversation a little bit further and touch on some areas we haven't touched on as yet. So stay with us. This is GPS. We'll be back after these words from our sponsor.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 Hyperimmune Egg Powder to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for a rim fence and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Tracklight, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires. Cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Blessed love.
To stay healthy, it's crucial to make sure you get the nutrition you need every day. But it's difficult to get all your recommended vitamins and minerals from food alone. Even in the United States, 94% of people are deficient in at least one nutrient. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Longevity is a simple, convenient, and affordable way to help your body get the essential nutrients it needs. It's an advanced plant-driven multivitamin mineral complex that contains certified organic whole foods, trace minerals, and antioxidants. BTT 2.0 supports your body's natural defense system with a proprietary blend of energy-boosting and body-loving nutrients, plus prebiotics, probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes that support digestion. With an unusually high ORAC score of 8,000, you get even more antioxidants to help combat free radicals that can cause damage to your cells. But to get the most benefit and value from any multivitamin, your body must be able to break down the nutrients so you can fully absorb them. Otherwise, they'll just pass through your system without doing any good. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 was specially formulated with synergizing cofactors to ensure you get maximum nutrient absorption. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 is the easiest way to give your body the balance and complete daily vitamin mineral supplement it needs for optimal support of your overall health. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
This portion of GPS is brought to you by Tiki Bikini Hut at Junkanoo Beach. Great food, cool tropical drinks, and family fun in the sun.
Welcome back to GPS, Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm here with C. Alan Johnson. We're talking Grand Bahama is a renaissance that has been so long awaited on the island, right around the corner now with all of these new developments being announced, or is it going to be quite a while? And Grand Bahamians are not to be blamed for having a we'll wait and see attitude, being cautiously optimistic, considering how many times they have been promised and disappointed in the past about things finally turning around for Grand Bahama. I mean, let's face it, Grand Bahama has had a string of bad luck, not just starting with Dorian, but even way before then, being hit with successive hurricanes. And now hurricane season is upon us yet again. Damage still hasn't been repaired from Dorian. So when you consider all of that, C. Allen, I mean, what kind of development do we need to be considering to prepare?
This is where measuring, when you say you can't manage what you can't measure, we have people, believe it or not, on this island waiting for hurricane repairs from Jean and Francis of 2004.
Yeah, somebody actually, one of the commenters actually says that. Trying to find where it is. It says, Grand Bahama. This is a comment from Bilal Carey. Says Grand Bahama still waiting on the supplies that were supposed to be sent after Hurricane Francis in 2004.
And they're absolutely correct. But here's the problem: is that we're waiting for some foreigner to gift us to repair ourselves when we have what is necessary. If leveraged properly, can fix it. We can fix ourselves. And so, if another hurricane or tropical storm were to hit us, we'll be waiting. Here it is that you have the government of the Bahamas have maybe as much as 10,000 homes that need to be repaired on Grand Bahama. And you have government that made this major announcement that we're going to be fixing 2,500 homes and we want more people to apply. Why is it that we're not empowering people so they can be in position to fix their own homes? Can you imagine waiting, that being in such a desperate position that you've been waiting for a decade or two to fix a $10,000 or $20,000 repair and the accelerated damage that's occurred to your home for waiting? That tells you that we are not talking about empowering people. You're saying we're going to fix these homes, but every home going to have 10 to 15,000. Would it make more sense to empower an economy so they could make the $10 to $15,000 to fix themselves? Because the question is, where's the government of the Bahamas going to get the $40 million or $80 million that is necessary to facilitate these home repairs? And these home repairs itself is not suffice. These are called maybe dry-in and mediocre jobs at best, just to simply say you don't get wet. Well, if another hurricane happens, it'll take you off again. We should be empowering people to be putting in their own hurricane windows, building stronger roof, reinforcing their joists, making preparations. We should be having a conversations as to where people go during the next hurricane in case we do have another surge type of environment. We were depending on churches, which themselves are old and needing repairs and patching from these other hurricanes of the past. So, and this is why it's important for the Bahamas economy, because as the Bahamian economy has grown, the resources of government access haven't. Why? Technically, that's again another conversation. We have not embraced a non-regressive tax system to tap into that $16 billion GDP that is being made. More so, there's $3 trillion worth of commerce that happens in the Bahamas on a yearly basis, that, according to WTO, within our jurisdiction. $3 trillion per year happens within the borders of the Bahamas. And so but we somehow don't want to do what is necessary. Some people say the hard thing. It's not hard. It's what is necessary for us to correct the boat, because it will begin to impact us personally. When I say us, I'm talking about those individuals who sits in the power and the position of authority to make the decision that is necessary for the rebuilding of the Bahamas. But again, Grand Bahama and now Abaco is in a desperate situation because you have individuals' home has been exasperated by these hurricanes since the twin hurricanes of 2004, and no repairs has been done. Dorian came and exposed those weaknesses, because even for individuals who were not directly impacted by Dorian, felt the impact of that plywood that they had on their window, on their door for almost 2 decades, and the nail as they began to corrode was able to be removed. The tops and other things that they had on their roof in the west and whatever has been torn away. And so you have an island-wide need, and we have not had a conversation. how do we build people so they can rebuild their homes rather than trying to rebuild their homes and leave the people unbuilt?
Look at this comment from Miko. Says, where do we get the funds with everyday living on minimum wage? I think that's exactly the point you're trying to make. Improve the economy so that won't have to be a question.
Absolutely, because again, the government is now talking about a livable wage. In the Bahamas, a livable wage will be in excess of $600 as the minimum wage,
Right.
which is addressable if you actually look at the GDP of the economy. We often say we have this 35,000 GDP, but see, that's for every single man, woman, and child working in the Bahamas.
Mhm.
If you extrapolate from there the $250,000 or $225,000 workforce, on average, every Bahamian working today is making $65,000 to $75,000 according to the GDP per year. So $600 a week livable wage comes to be about 30,000, little over 30, maybe 33, 34,000, let's say 35,000 a year. Well, according to the GDP, I'm already making 75,000. So where is my livable wage? However, in growing this economy, I can see a properly digitized economy adding literally a 50% boost, and Grand Bahama can pose a real key to this. You may not believe it, the Grand Bahama and Abaco, the twin cities, can actually add that $8 billion boost to the Bahamian economy in the shortest period of time, as little as 5 to 6 years, if we are given the opportunity to grow. But again, Grand Bahama and Abaco's real growth poses a threat to the political and oligarch class in the Bahamas because, again, if you grow Grand Bahama, we'll have to strip New Providence of about 50,000 people or more to support this new economic model. And people say, that's great. You got 50,000 people in better homes and better working environment, whatever. We don't ever look at it and say, look, you're now moving 50,000 people, which is like maybe 20,000, 30,000 families. 50,000 voting public is 10 seats that you're stripping out of New Providence. That now sits in Grand Bahama, making Grand Bahama really the official capital economically. They don't control the economics of Grand Bahama. They control the harbor. They don't control the gas. They don't control the food stores, all those different things. You now have an open competition. They don't have control of the landmass. So fixing the Bahamas disrupt the ruling class in the Bahamas. And this is what Bahamians from a lower level have to understand. The new digital economy gives us the ability, where you get the resources from, crowdsourcing, digitization, tokenization, and crypto, and all these things now gives Bahamians, with a proper legislation, the ability to fund their own projects by tapping into the billions of people around the world and the billions and trillions of dollars that is going to now come into these new economic models, more so the green and the blue and ocean economy that the government talks so much about. We talk about climate warming, we talk about global warming and climate change. Guess what? The Bahamas is front and center. Our prime minister is now the unofficial spokesman for all small island development states. Well, how do we be a spokesman in $1 trillion economy and we as Bahamians have no means to take part and participate in it, whether we remain in the Bahamas or reach out of it? That's what is Grand Bahama is the center of the ocean economy, the green economy, and the blue economy debate in the Bahamas. Let no one else tells you that otherwise. So again, where's the Port Authority with their so-called reef project, which is tapping into the ocean economy? The Blue Action Lab with Rupert Haywood with his blue economy. Eden Marigator with the group of young individuals all under the age of 30 with their FECA Lab or aquamarine economy. Where are they fitting into this conversation when Grand Bahama is front and center of it? Doesn't all of the traffic for the world pass right off the coast of Grand Bahama?
Okay, I think we have a caller on the line. I'm not sure if we still do because I'm just seeing the message now. So if you're still there, caller, welcome to GPS.
Good afternoon, Michelle.
Hi, good afternoon.
How you doing?
Excellent, thank you.
That's good. Good afternoon, Critical Thinker.
Good afternoon, sir.
Mighty trying to weigh in the scale who's the smartest in the Bahamas right now between you and 52. 52 and you know that go.
Hey, can you pause a second? You know, 52 and I grew up together, right, in the Grove.
I can tell you what. Like minds, they could be growing anywhere in the world, but they still all the same. Oh, that's not.
You're correct.
Yeah. First, before I get to the critical thing, Michelle.
Yes.
Yeah. Man, you let me down, you know.
Why?
Man, I respect you. I leave with your health regimen and all that, right? But I was
Right.
telling you what to do for COVID, but you never listen to me. You gonna put that rock slide in your nose, full strength. You really think you should know better? That's all.
But guess what? Guess what? Guess what? Trust me, that COVID gone.
I know that. But Michelle,
That
let me tell you
worked.
something, yeah?
Go ahead.
Michelle, let me tell you something, right? You know what? I am asthmatic, been asthmatic from a child, right?
Listen though.
I put
Listen
down
though. I don't
hospitals
want you
from
wear.
17
Listen,
years
we only
old.
got
You
14
hear me?
minutes left in the show.
17
I
years
can't let
old.
you.
And you know what? I've been fighting the battle myself from then until right now in my 60s, right? You know what?
Call Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's a Wednesday call. We talking Grand Bahama today now. You got to stay
I
on
know we
track.
talking Grand Bahama. I get on him right now, but then, COVID, you only mentioned nothing about that. That's important too. That's important
but that ain't
because
what we talking about today.
we take these masks and thing off to try build this economy up anyhow. But then what I saying is very important because you know what? The protocols and everything cool, right? And the social distancing, I've been distancing myself from that time, right? Because you must know that, in this environment we live in, we don't give our nose a chance.
Okay, so Carla, what this got to do with what we talking about today, though?
Huh?
You got to stay focused, man. You taking us off topic now. I only got 13 minutes left in the show.
Now, critical thinker. When we move 30,000 persons out of Nassau to put them in Freeport, right? Right. You know that void will be filled in. I mean, it's just like no one never left, and you never put in the equation the impact of persons who are here, who are supposed to be here, who are basically in the economy. Right now, we don't have the census and we have this bilingual thing. I mean, we got to keep it real. Where did it come from, and where does that fit in our equation when we're talking about rebuilding this new Freeport city? Because I mean, it's like you talk about Bahamians being employed, but the minute anything gets to happen in this country, the place will be riddled with Haitians, and they're the ones who are going to get the employment.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes, you brought us to a very, very important point because everything I talking about Grand Bahama, we're going to need a critical mass of about another 500,000 people in the Bahamas. There's no ifs, ands, and buts. That brings us front and center to an immigration discussion that we must have concerning protecting citizenship. The problem that you speak of is a technology problem. We can right now offer identification that is equal to or greater than even the passport by virtue of using big data to verify individuals. And here's what you say. You can't work in the Bahamas unless you have the proper work tools. We're going to make everybody in the Bahamas an immigration officer. How you do that? We're going to say, we're going to offer a $10,000 fine for anybody that does not work, who works in the Bahamas illegally. I don't care if they're cutting your lawn. And so what we're going to do is we're going to give you a $2,000 reward if you report anybody who's working illegally. Now, everybody on the job, I'm at the job, say Atlantis, I look over and say, hey, big man, you got your paperwork yet? He's like, man, I still waiting. I said, just give me a minute. I got to call my wife. I go inside and say, hi, immigration. So I get my reward. They have to imply the penalty. Would we also say that if you live in the Bahamas, you must live in a properly sanctioned and approved residence? So that eliminates the shanty towns and everything because you must meet the requirement. When you make application or you apply for a job, you must first prove that you have the documents. You don't have it. When you make it even application for regularization, whatever, you have to show us all your rent receipts, all your utility receipts for the time you claim you've been here, as well as your work record. So technology now allows us to fix the problem right now. And within 1 year, we can do this. And anyone who's working here illegally will not have the proper identification. We can also purge our database by virtue of asking big data, tell me the name of the JP who have signed these documents. How many, just punch in the JP name and it'll come up and says, well, according to John Peterson, he knew 1,000 people personally who were born in the Bahamas or whatever else that he verified. Big data can solve that problem. We can then know that almost everything that he does is fraudulent. So this is why when we talk about digitization of the Bahamian economy, it's more of a charade than actual implementation. Facebook and these other places get hundreds of thousands of people that join and leave them every day. We have been trying to digitize the Bahamian economy or our records for 2 decades, almost spending maybe as much as $1 billion for technology across the country. Yet we have yet to finish digitizing 400,000 people. Do you really believe that we are that incompetent, or is this a deliberate action?
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, in regards to when you mentioned digitization of like citizenship and passports and everything, right? And it's already digitized, so it's up a new system, right? Now, answer this question for me. This is a serious question, right? Now, do you think that a Bahamian, right, who has a passport, right, to be renewed? I'm talking about have passports from the Brits and all, right? The first passport, right? Do you think today, in 2022, a Bahamian who've been in this country, born in this country and everything, should have any problem having their passport renewed?
No, but I'm saying to you, here's what happens. Because we still do things manually, it comes in, this is where the problem manual is. When you have a purity of digital, and one of the best person you can talk to is Aaron Knowles, right? He, with Benchmark Publishing, going back almost 2 decades, he began the digitization of our product. In fact, I think there may still be an outstanding lawsuit where we have yet to pay him for the digitization that he has done, and he has those records. And the question is, why are we trying to redo what he's already been done? If I recall, he did the birth records already. He did the passport office. He did the court records and all these things. Let's find out where Aaron is right now. Benchmark Publishing, if I get it correctly. Let's pay him what we owe him.
Critical Linga. Now, without even like to say all the digital stuff, right? You got hard. I'm talking about just hard copy evidence. You got the passport, the original passport. You got 4 different passports. You got a problem getting your passport.
I'm saying you.
In this country.
The older the documents are, the easier it is to create a fraudulent copies of it. But I'm saying to you is when the British left, right? And now we talk about ancestry and all these other different things. There have been records kept, meticulous records until we took over as supposed to be independence. British kept meticulous records. What I'm simply saying is we don't need to search boxes with these records. Once you have digitized these records, we can cross-reference them and go back and forth instantaneously on the fly. What I'm simply saying to you, this is where the Bahamas must become digitalization for digital transformation to happen. And so the problem is that we are playing around with technology because they don't really understand it. But within 1 year, we can go to Aaron Knowles, get what it is that he has, look at what is missing, and create this database of big data, big dark data, whatever. And we can ask questions and resolve many of the issues we have right now about citizenship. And we don't have to give citizenship, The only difference between citizenship and the right to reside is the right to vote. So if you say you're entitled to something, you say you can't travel, we could have 2 different passports right now. One gives you the right to vote, one doesn't give you. All of these things is implementable. What I'm simply saying is that we can't keep having these same old arguments in the 21st century. We have to begin to accept new tools that can happen. So you can have all privileges of being even born in the Bahamas without citizenship, except for the right to choose who changes the rules. So we want to protect the rule changers by saying that's reserved exclusively for this class of citizens. So that's another conversation for another day, right? But I'm simply saying just for Grand Bahama alone, for us to reach the critical mass and the skill set we need from around the world, we have to begin to import people. So the argument should not, let me just finish this point. The argument should not be for who is in the country. It should be for protection of the sovereignty of the Bahamas. So we can open the border and let whoever comes just follow the rules.
Caller, I gotta let you go because we're running out of time. I can't let you continue with this.
The protection of our sovereignty, right? We should put like basically a cap on the Haitian segment of like persons who come here because there's too much of them
let's stop for a minute. We can finish this another day. Here's my point.
Some other nation or some other kind of citizens elsewhere around the world an opportunity.
All right, caller. Thank you so much. We gotta let you go. We gotta let you go.
We can put a cap, right? But how about putting a requirement of the skill sets we need while protecting our sovereignty and citizenship. So if you possess the skill set and you're from Haiti,
If you'd
and
like
you
to
can
make a
meet what is
call, please hang
necessary,
up
then
and
okay,
try
we can
again.
use you from
If
no
you
matter
need
where you
help,
are from.
hang up
And
and then
that's the
dial your
conversation. So I don't
operator.
want to have a convoluted, biased conversation.
Hold on, T. Allen. Hold on. I don't know where my producer is. He's clearly not at his desk. Wow.
Okay, so
Yeah, but the challenge is they're not going to be able to hear us without that turned on, without that
okay.
microphone turned on.
Well, it should hang up now. Just open it again. It only beeps for a second.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So we practically out of time. I want to ask this one question real quick, and that is this. And we only got like 4 minutes, and you need a minute to wrap up. So keep that in mind when you're answering. What about capital access to do all of these things?
Again, goes right back to digitization and the things that we are doing. Michelle, if you knew the possibility in digitization, when you end this show, you will be packing. Because I'm not kidding you. In the show, if you maybe talk about this, in less than 3 years, you could donate $1 million while keeping your true wealth secret. That's what digitization offers the Bahamas. Let's use an example. If you wanted to get capitalization now for a bed and breakfast in the United States, they want to know where you are and everything else. In the Bahamas, you can get capitalization in a minute. Why? Because of the word Bahamas, just like a cruise ship. A nowhere cruise in the Bahamas in Miami is $50. They put the word Bahamas on it and it goes to $500. So the mere fact that, yes, you could rent a room in Miami for $50, when you put the word Bahamas and vacation on it, is now, like the government of the Bahamas say, an average of $450. If you properly constitute that bed and breakfast to meet a 3 or 4 star requirement. Mind you, it's the same building that you can live in, same everything. It's just that you bring up a certain quality. You need capitalization to invoke that quality of bed and breakfast or whatever it is that you have. And so there is billions available in this ecotourism industry. The problem is we're not having a conversation. How could we use the DARE bill? How could we use this carbon credit bills? How could we use the green, all these different economies for the empowerment of Bahamians? Remember, $300,000 adults, $250,000 Okay, let's say.
All the time.
Okay, just in branding up.
All the time. So I need you to wrap it up. Yeah.
Right, a small segment to them. I'm simply saying this. We have to begin to demand a broader and wider conversations on platforms such as this. And let me say to you that advertisers, I would love to spend more time on this platform. I need some money. Please call Michelle. Call the number on the bottom, whatever, and support the advertising on this so she can call me and I can talk longer, more days, and we can begin to break down the nuts and bolts of this. Please call your uncle, your aunt, anybody. When you go into the food store, say, hey, have you ever heard about GPS? Can you sponsor us? Because this guy there and her, we having some great conversation. Sponsor.
Exactly. We gotta go. Listen, he's so right because a lot of people come to me, oh, I love your show. We need more sponsors in order to keep it on the air. Bottom line. C. Allen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
As always, great information. Thank you so much. Listen, guys, gotta get out of here. Tomorrow is Friday, so you know what that means. It's going to be a TGIF open line show. Oh boy, do we have a lot to talk about. Good Lord, have mercy. What a week it was. We're going to talk about it all on the show tomorrow. I will see you guys tomorrow. Same time, same channel. I know that's a corny old joke. I'm Michelle Malcolm. See you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.